AITA for freezing my wife's hidden account after she drained our emergency fund? I'm Wesley, 42, and Lauren and I had been married for 14 years when she sent the text that destroyed any respect I still had for our marriage. I was standing in the kitchen rinsing 2 coffee mugs out of habit, even though she had stopped drinking coffee with me months earlier. That was the stupid detail I remember most. Not the anger, not the shock. Just me holding her mug under the faucet while she was telling me she had already taken the money and chosen someone else. Our marriage didn't die in one text. I know that sounds neat for a story, but it isn't true. It had been thinning out for a long time, like a rope fraying strand by strand, while both people keep pretending it can still hold. For the last year, Lauren had been sharper with me. Not always cruel, just impatient in a way that made every normal question sound like an accusation. If I asked, "What time do you think you'll be back?" she would sigh and say, "I didn't realize I had a curfew." If I asked why the joint card had 3 charges I didn't recognize, she would set her phone down hard and say, "Can I buy something without being audited?" And if I got quiet because I didn't want to turn dinner into another fight, she would lean back and say, "There he is, Wesley the statue." I wasn't perfect. I need to say that because I'm not interested in painting myself as some flawless husband who got blindsided by evil. I shut down during arguments. I hated circular conversations. I had a bad habit of going still when I felt cornered, and Lauren had a bad habit of calling that stillness proof that I didn't care. That combination can rot a marriage if nobody deals with it. But there is a difference between a marriage that needs work and a spouse planning an exit while draining joint money and writing a victim story in advance. Lauren used to say she loved that I was steady. Early in our marriage, she called me her solid ground. Later, the same trait became her favorite insult. "You're so controlled," she would say. "Do you ever feel anything before you turn it into a spreadsheet?" She was decisive in a way that I used to admire. If we needed a couch, she chose one by Tuesday. If we had a family dinner, she picked the time, menu, and guest list before I had finished reading the group text. She could walk into a messy room and make everyone feel like there was a plan. Over time, though, decisiveness turned into something else. She would make decisions, then demand forgiveness after the fact. She changed the password to our shared budgeting app one night and told me it was because the old system felt suffocating. I said, "It's our budget, Lauren. Why would you change the password without telling me?" She didn't even look up from her phone. "Because you turn every dollar into a conversation. That's usually how joint accounts work." "There it is again," she said. The accountant tone. I stared at her for a second, waiting for her to laugh or soften. She didn't. Another time, I noticed a credit card payment coming out of the joint checking account to a card I didn't recognize. The memo line only showed the last 4 digits, 4,482. I asked, "What is this card ending in 4482? Lauren closed the fridge slowly, like she was giving herself time not to explode. "A place where I can breathe without you hovering." "I'm asking about a payment from our joint account." "You're asking because you can't stand not knowing every private thing I do." I remember the way that hit me. It sounded reasonable enough to shame me. I didn't want to be the husband who monitored his wife. I didn't want to be the guy who needed passwords and receipts to feel secure. So I backed off. That became the pattern. She would do something secretive. I would ask. She would turn the question into proof that I was controlling. Then I would retreat because the last thing I wanted was to become the villain she seemed to be describing. I didn't realize she was training me to ignore alarms. The social part started quietly. At dinners with friends, Lauren began making little jokes that landed wrong. We would be sitting around someone's table, passing salad or opening takeout boxes, and she'd say, "Wesley's here physically. Emotionally, who knows?" People laughed because that's what people do when a married person makes a joke and they're not sure if it's really a joke. I smiled tightly the first time. The second time, I said, "That's not really fair." Lauren touched my arm like she was calming a child. "See? This is what I mean. He hears one joke and wants a hearing." Sabrina, one of Lauren's closest friends in our shared circle, gave me a sympathetic look. Not sympathetic toward me. Sympathetic like she was witnessing exactly what Lauren had warned her about. That was the first moment I realized Lauren had been talking. Derek, another friend, said, "Marriage is tough, man," in the tone people use when they think they're being neutral but have already picked a side. On the drive home, I asked Lauren, "Have you been telling people I'm checked out?" She looked out the passenger window. I've been telling people I'm lonely. Why tell them instead of telling me? I have told you. You've insulted me in public. She turned toward me then, her eyes dry and angry. Because private doesn't work with you. You just sit there until I feel crazy. I could have fought harder. I could have demanded counseling right there or forced the financial conversation. Instead, I said nothing for the rest of the drive because silence felt safer than saying something I couldn't take back. That was my mistake. Not because my silence caused her choices. It didn't. But because my silence made it easier for her to convince herself I would never push back. A few weeks before the divorce text, we had what I thought was a turning point. It was a Wednesday night. We had eaten Thai takeout at the kitchen table because neither of us had the energy to pretend at the dining table. The containers were still open between us, rice drying around the edges, Lauren's fork untouched. She started crying, not loud, not dramatic, just tears sliding down while she looked at the wall behind me. I don't want to hate us, she said. That sentence broke something in me. Not in a bad way. In the way a locked door opens when you weren't expecting it. I don't either, I said. Maybe we owe it to 14 years to try one more time. I reached across the table. She let me take her hand, but she didn't squeeze back. I noticed that. I ignored it. Because I wanted to be the kind of husband who believed his wife when she said she wanted to try. We talked for nearly an hour. She said she needed space. I said I needed honesty. She said I made honesty feel unsafe. I said I felt like I was always defending myself against charges I hadn't heard until the sentence was already decided. It was not a perfect conversation, but it was more than we'd had in months. When we went to bed, she slept facing away from me. I told myself healing didn't happen in one night. Later, I would learn that a transfer for $4,800 left our emergency fund that same evening, less than 20 minutes after she said we should try one more time. The reset weekend came 2 weeks later. Lauren stood in the bedroom with a small suitcase on the bed, folding clothes with a strange kind of focus. She said she needed 2 nights away to clear her head. With who? I asked. She stopped folding. Don't make this a whole interrogation. I'm asking where you'll be. I'll be safe. That wasn't what I asked. She zipped the suitcase like the conversation was done. This is exactly why I need space. I let it go. I wish I could say I let it go because I trusted her. The truth is I let it go because I was tired of being accused of controlling every time I asked a normal husband question. Before she left, she stood in the hallway with her car keys in hand and said, "Please don't text me all weekend unless it's important." What counts as important? She gave a small, humorless laugh. You'll know. I should have known then that she wasn't asking for space to think. She was asking for an empty stage. Saturday morning was quiet. Too quiet. I woke up later than usual because no one was moving around the bathroom. No hairdryer. No drawer closing too hard. No Lauren muttering that we were out of oat milk even though she was the only one who drank it. I made coffee. 2 mugs. Mine black. Hers with the splash of creamer she liked. Then I remembered she wasn't there. I still poured it. That's the kind of stupid habit marriage leaves behind. Your body keeps doing the routine even when your mind knows better. Around 10:17 a.m., while I was rinsing her untouched mug, my phone buzzed with a bank alert. Large transfer initiated. I wiped my hand on a towel and opened the app. The emergency fund balance had dropped so sharply that for a second I thought the app had glitched. We had built that account over years. Car repairs, medical deductibles, job gaps, roof leaks, whatever life threw at us. It wasn't exciting money. It was sleep-at-night money. Most of it was gone. I clicked into the transaction history. A large transfer had been sent to an outside account I didn't recognize. Then I saw the previous weeks. $3,200, $4,800, $2,750, $5,000. Smaller transfers, spaced out. Not enough to set off the kind of panic a single huge withdrawal would, but enough that the pattern was obvious once I was looking at it. My stomach dropped before I even opened Lauren's text. Her message came in at 10:22 a.m. Wesley, I'm not coming home tomorrow. I want a divorce. I've spent too long feeling alone in a marriage with someone who cares more about control than connection. Adrian sees me. He chooses me in ways you stopped trying to. I moved the emergency fund before you could turn this into another control issue. Keep the house. You'll need something to cling to. I read it once. Then I read it again. Then I set the phone face down on the counter because my first instinct was to call her and say every ugly thing rushing through my head. I wanted to ask who Adrian was, even though some part of me already knew. I wanted to ask how long. I wanted to ask how she could move money we had saved together and then talk like she had been forced to rescue herself from a cage. I wanted to tell her she was cruel. Instead, I picked up my phone again and took screenshots. The whole thread, the bank alert, the current balance, the transfer confirmation page, the transaction history. Then another message came in. Don't bother trying to spin this. Our friends know how checked out you've been. I won't let you make me the villain because I finally chose happiness. That was when the anger cooled into something much more useful. Because it wasn't just the divorce. It wasn't just Adrian. It wasn't just the money. She had planned the story too. I typed one sentence. That makes this easier to prove. She replied almost instantly. Wow, cold even now. I typed one more. Do not move another dollar from any joint account. Then I called Owen. Owen and I had been friends long enough that he knew when I was really angry. I got quiet. He picked up on the second ring. What happened? I tried to explain, but the words came out in pieces. Divorce text. Adrian. Emergency fund. Transfers. House. Owen didn't interrupt. When I stopped, he said, Where are you? Kitchen. Good. Stay there. Don't drive anywhere. I'm not drunk. I'm not worried about drunk. I'm worried about furious. I haven't called her. Good. Don't call Adrian. Don't post. Don't text a paragraph. Do not give her the angry husband evidence she is clearly waiting for. I leaned both hands on the counter. The sink was still dripping. I hadn't turned the faucet all the way off. She took the money, I said. Then save the proof and call someone who knows what proof can do. I don't even know where to start. Screenshots first. Statements. Download everything. Dates, amounts, account numbers, whatever you can legally access. Then call an attorney. Being calm only helps if you act while you're calm. That sentence stayed with me. I had spent years confusing calm with patience, patience with fairness, and fairness with letting Lauren define every argument. Owen was right. Calm meant nothing if I used it to stand still while somebody took my legs out from under me. I made a folder on my laptop and named it with the date. No insults. No Lauren betrayal. Just the date. Inside, I saved the text thread as images and a PDF. I downloaded bank statements for the last 6 months. I downloaded the year-to-date transaction list. I saved the transfer confirmations that still showed a pending status. I took screenshots of alerts and account balances. Then I went backward. The $4,800 transfer from that Wednesday night lined up with the conversation where she cried at the kitchen table and said we should try one more time. I felt something in my chest go hollow when I saw the timestamp, 10:46 p.m. I remembered that night. I remembered washing the takeout containers. I remembered feeling careful hope like a match cupped in both hands. At 10:46 p.m., while I was probably brushing my teeth and telling myself we might still have a chance, she had moved nearly $5,000. Another transfer lined up with a shared calendar entry labeled Girls Weekend Planning. Lauren had added it herself. I checked the card ending in 4482 because the payment had come from our joint account. I could not see the full card details, but I could see a payment amount and date. It matched a hotel-related charge she had once brushed off as self-care. I checked rideshare receipts that came through an old shared email folder because years ago we had used the same family email for travel confirmations. I wasn't hacking anything. I wasn't sneaking into her private accounts. These were records connected to shared payments and shared addresses. One receipt showed a pickup near a hotel at 11:38 p.m. on a night she had told me she was at Sabrina's house watching a movie. The drop-off was not our house. I saved it. By noon, Lauren had called 6 times. I didn't answer. Her voicemails changed tone fast. The first one was sharp. What did you do, Wesley? I just tried to use the card, and it declined. Are you seriously punishing me already? The second was angrier. You are proving exactly why I had to protect myself. This is financial abuse. I hope you understand how bad this looks. The third had a crack in it. Call me. You don't get to hide behind silence after 14 years. I forwarded everything to a new folder and called an attorney. Maya was recommended by a friend of Owen's. I didn't know what I expected from a divorce attorney. Maybe sympathy, maybe outrage. Maya gave me neither, and that was exactly what I needed. Her first email was short and direct. Do not move joint funds except for ordinary obligations. Do not threaten your spouse. Do not contact the other man. Preserve records. We are not punishing her. We are preserving assets. We spoke on a video call that afternoon. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and a legal pad I hadn't used in years. The house felt too quiet. The same Thai takeout menus were still stuck to the fridge with a magnet Lauren bought on vacation. Maya reviewed the screenshots and the transfer list without changing expression. She texted that she moved the emergency fund. Yes. And the funds came from a joint account. Yes. Good. Not morally good. Useful good. I almost laughed, but it came out like a cough. She says I'm financially controlling. Maya looked up. Was she on the accounts? Yes. Did she have access to household money? Yes. Did you keep her from working, banking, or spending? No. Then we don't argue with adjectives. We use records. She told me what I could do and what I absolutely should not do. I could cancel Lauren's authorized user access on a credit card that was solely in my name. I could open a separate account for my income going forward. I could continue paying the mortgage, utilities, and insurance from documented funds so Lauren couldn't say I had abandoned obligations. I could formally dispute the transfers as marital funds moved without disclosure and request emergency protection. I could not empty remaining joint accounts out of spite. I could not harass Lauren or Adrian. I could not blast half-understood accusations online because that would make me look reckless and give Lauren something to use. Maya said, a clean timeline beats an emotional rant. What about the account? We can contact the bank through proper channels and file for temporary relief. A bank may place a hold pending review if there are disputed transfers or risk indicators, but the court order is what matters. I'll move quickly. Can it happen today? If the transfer is still pending in some places, maybe. If not, we still build the record. Either way, do not improvise. She paused, then added, do not confuse silence with surrender. We are building a record. By late afternoon, the card in my name was secured. Lauren's authorized user access was removed. The mortgage payment was scheduled. Utilities stayed current. My next paycheck was redirected to a new account. Every step was documented. At 6:41 p.m., Maya forwarded an email from the bank's legal response department. The receiving account was under review and subject to a temporary hold while the disputed transfers were evaluated. Maya had also filed an emergency request to preserve marital assets. It wasn't a movie moment. There was no judge slamming a gavel 5 hours after a text message. It was paperwork, bank language, temporary measures, and a lot of pending review. But it was enough. At 6:52 p.m., Lauren called again. This time her voice was different. What did you do? I didn't pick up. She left it as a voicemail. What did you do, Wesley? Adrian and I are trying to check out, and my card won't work. The account says restricted. You can't do this. That money is mine too. I listened once, saved it, and sent it to Maya. Owen texted me a few minutes later. How are you holding up? I typed. I think the account got frozen. He replied, good. Now eat something before you become evidence. I didn't feel like eating, but my sister Paige showed up around 8 o'clock with takeout, 2 file boxes, and the expression of someone who had been waiting a long time for permission to be angry. Paige is younger than me, but she has always had the emotional subtlety of a brick through a window. She hugged me hard, then immediately started opening cabinets. Where do you keep tax records? Nice to see you too. I'll be nice after we make sure she can't rewrite reality. I told her what happened while she put noodles on a plate I didn't ask for. Paige listened without interrupting until I got to the part about the Wednesday night transfer. Then she put both hands on the counter and said, I knew something was off with her. I looked at her. I'm not saying I knew this, Paige said quickly. I didn't know she was moving money or seeing someone. But she started talking about you like you were some obstacle instead of her husband. A few months ago at dinner, she told me, Wesley likes being the reasonable one because it makes everyone else look unstable. I thought about telling you. Why didn't you? Because every time I hinted that Lauren was being unfair, you got defensive. Not at me. At the idea that your marriage was that bad. I didn't want to make you choose between your sister and your wife. I sat down at the table. I should have listened. Paige slid the plate toward me. You listened when it counted. We packed copies of tax returns, insurance records, mortgage documents, passports, the car title, and anything else Maya had told me to secure. Paige labeled folders with dates and account names. She didn't call Lauren names. She didn't rant. Her anger came out as organization. At one point, she looked at me and said, "You weren't weak. You were trying not to turn your marriage into a courtroom before she did. She counted on your restraint. She forgot restraint is not surrender." I slept maybe 2 hours that night. The next morning, Lauren's story started leaking into the friend group. It began with Sabrina. Her message was long, careful, and moral in a way that made my jaw tighten. "Wesley, I don't want to get in the middle, but Lauren is scared and feels trapped. I know taking money sounds bad from your perspective, but she said you controlled all the finances and she didn't feel like she had a safe way to leave. Freezing her account is only making that look true. Please don't make this uglier than it has to be." I read it while standing in the laundry room because I had gone there to move towels and then forgot why I was there. Old Wesley would have written back 6 paragraphs. I would have defended myself point by point, sounded emotional, and given Sabrina lines Lauren could twist. Instead, I typed, "Ask her when the transfer started." Sabrina didn't respond for 23 minutes. Then, "What do you mean?" I sent one screenshot. Not the whole folder. Just the transfer list with dates and amounts, including the one from the night Lauren told me she wanted to try again. Sabrina replied. She said she moved money after deciding to leave because she was afraid you would cut her off. She started weeks earlier. Another pause. Then, "I need to check something." I set the phone down, made coffee, and poured it into one mug. That was the first morning I didn't pour hers. Sabrina called around noon. I didn't answer because Maya had already told me to avoid calls when emotions were high. Sabrina texted instead. "I owe you an apology." I repeated her version because it sounded cleaner. Then she sent a screenshot. It was from a message Lauren had sent her weeks earlier. Sabrina had cropped out unrelated parts, but the important lines were visible with timestamps. "Lauren, I opened the separate account. I'm doing smaller transfers so he doesn't turn it into a whole thing before I'm ready." Sabrina, "Is that your money or joint money?" Lauren, "It's our emergency fund, but I'm the one who needs an emergency." Sabrina, "Please be careful. That sounds messy." Lauren, "Once the money is out, he'll be too tired to fight. He always folds if I wait him out." I sat down slowly. Not because the words shocked me exactly. By then I knew she had planned it. But seeing it written in her own casual confidence did something different. She had not panicked. She had not fled. She had calculated my exhaustion like it was a feature of the marriage she could exploit. I forwarded the screenshot to Maya. Then I texted Sabrina. "Thank you for sending it." Sabrina replied. I didn't know she meant joint money when she first talked about protecting herself. I should have asked more. I'm sorry. I believed her mostly. Sabrina liked to be supportive. She liked stories with a clear wounded woman and a clear cold husband. Lauren had handed her one. But Sabrina also had enough conscience to get uncomfortable when the bank records showed dates. That made her different from Derek. Derek posted in the group chat that evening. It was the larger friend group, the kind where people sent birthday plans, restaurant ideas, memes, and occasionally emotional grenades disguised as concern. Derek wrote, "I know everyone's tense, but freezing money is a pretty extreme way to react to a breakup." I stared at the word breakup. A breakup is what happens when two people have a conversation, or at least when one person leaves with their own suitcase and their own money. This was a divorce text attached to missing marital funds. Before I could respond, Lauren wrote, "Thank you. I'm honestly scared by how quickly he turned legal and punitive. It confirms a lot." Sabrina wrote, "Derek, stop. You haven't seen the dates." Lauren replied, "I cannot believe you are doing this too." Derek wrote, "I'm just saying nobody should trap anyone financially." I typed a reply, deleted it, typed another, deleted that too. Maya had told me to wait unless the false version created a real need to correct the record. Owen said the same thing in fewer words. Don't fight every spark. Save it for the fire. So I waited. Lauren kept posting, not directly naming me at first, just vague posts about choosing peace, leaving emotionally unsafe dynamics, and how people reveal themselves when they lose control. Friends commented hearts. A few people I had known for years wrote things like, "Proud of you," and "You deserve happiness." I didn't respond. That silence seemed to embolden her. 3 days after the text, Lauren posted a photo of a coffee cup on a balcony I didn't recognize. The caption said, "Sometimes the first honest breath comes after you stop asking permission." I didn't know whether Adrian took the photo. I didn't care. What bothered me was the comments. Derek, here for this new chapter. Another friend. No one should have to beg for basic freedom. Sabrina didn't comment. That night, Lauren sent an email through Maya that somehow still sounded like a text message. Wesley is making this unnecessarily hostile. The funds were moved because Lauren reasonably feared being cut off. She is willing to discuss a fair arrangement if Wesley stops weaponizing banks and attorneys. Maya forwarded it to me with one line, "They are testing language. We will answer with records." I wrote back, "Understood." That became my safest word. Understood. Received. Please direct this through counsel. Do not move additional marital funds. Lauren hated it. She left another voicemail. You're treating me like an enemy. 14 years, and this is what I get. A lawyer? You can't even have one real conversation. The part of me that still remembered loving her almost called back. I remembered vacations. I remembered the night our first apartment flooded, and we ate pizza sitting on stacked moving boxes. I remembered her laughing so hard at a terrible movie that she spilled soda on the couch and blamed the actor for bad timing. I remembered being younger and certain we would always find our way back. Then I looked at the screenshot again. He always folds if I wait him out. I did not call. A few days later, Adrian entered the story in the most Adrian way possible, which was by trying to remove himself from it. Lauren sent me a furious email accusing me of dragging innocent people into marital finances. Attached to it, accidentally or because she was rushing, was a screenshot of a message thread between her and Adrian. I think she meant to send only her typed response to me, but the image showed his text above hers. Adrian, I didn't know this was joint money. Lauren, don't start. You knew I was leaving. Adrian, leaving is one thing. I can't be connected to anything that looks like hiding assets. Handle your divorce first. Lauren, so now I'm alone? Adrian, I'm saying this needs to be clean. The rescue fantasy had hit pavement. I didn't reply to Lauren about Adrian. I forwarded it to Maya. Owen came over that evening and found me standing in the garage, staring at a box of old holiday decorations. You planning to fight the snowman? He asked. I looked down. I had been holding a ceramic snowman Lauren bought years ago, the kind with a chipped hat and stupid smile. I don't know what to do with this stuff. Not today, you don't. He took the snowman and put it back in the box. I said, she's telling everyone I trapped her. Owen leaned against the workbench. People love a simple story. Cold husband. Brave wife. New love. Mean bank freeze. It's clean. It's a lie. Then make the truth clean too. That became the goal. Not revenge in the dramatic sense. I wasn't trying to ruin Lauren's life. I wasn't trying to make Adrian famous or humiliate everyone who believed her. But I was done being silent while she used my restraint as a blank screen for her story. Maya helped me prepare a narrow packet of evidence. She warned me not to send private information that didn't matter. No intimate details. No name calling. No emotional commentary. Just the specific claims being made and the records that contradicted them. The file was titled "The Part She Left Out." Inside were 6 sections. Lauren's divorce text where she admitted she had moved the emergency fund. The transfer timeline showing the smaller withdrawals over previous weeks. The Wednesday night transfer that matched the night she told me we should try again. Sabrina's screenshot with Lauren saying I would be too tired to fight. Proof that Lauren had access to joint accounts and that I had continued paying the mortgage, utilities, and insurance after she left. The attorney notice and bank correspondence showing the hold was requested as preservation of disputed marital funds, not because I wanted to starve her into returning. Maya reviewed the packet before I sent anything. This is still personal, she said, so be careful who receives it. I'm not posting it publicly. Good. Correct the circle repeating the lie. Do not perform for strangers. The confrontation happened at dinner before I sent the file. A mutual friend was hosting a small dinner that had been planned before everything exploded. I almost didn't go. Paige thought I shouldn't. Owen said I should only go if I could leave without needing to win the room. Maya said, socially, I have no opinion. Legally, do not discuss settlement details after wine. I went because I was tired of being absent from rooms where my name was being used. Lauren was there. I hadn't expected her to be, though maybe I should have. She sat near the middle of the table, hair done, makeup perfect, wearing the soft, wounded expression I had seen her practice during arguments. Sabrina sat across from her and looked like she wanted to crawl under the table. Derek greeted me stiffly. The dinner itself was awkward. Mismatched plates, a salad nobody touched, pasta getting cold because everyone was pretending not to watch Lauren and me avoid eye contact. For the first 20 minutes, nobody mentioned the divorce. Then Lauren did. She set down her fork and said, "I know this is uncomfortable. I don't want people choosing sides. I just want to be clear that leaving was not sudden for me. I tried for years to be heard." Derek nodded. I took a sip of water. Lauren continued, "And now I'm dealing with being financially punished for finally being honest." Sabrina closed her eyes. Derek turned to me. "Freezing money sounds extreme, Wes." "It wasn't her money," I said. "It was marital money moved without a conversation." Lauren laughed once, sharp and small. "There it is. Marital. Legal. Technical. This is why I couldn't breathe." I looked at her for a long second. "You texted me from a weekend with Adrian that you wanted a divorce and had already moved our emergency fund." The table went quiet. Derek frowned. "She said she took what she needed because she was afraid you'd cut her off. She started weeks before the divorce text." Lauren's face tightened. "I prepared because I knew you'd react exactly like this." "By exactly like this, do you mean documenting it? You are making me look like a criminal." I set my glass down. "I'm answering with the paperwork you created." Derek shifted in his chair. "I'm just trying to understand. Freezing someone's account is a big move." I looked at him. It wasn't a breakup. It was a divorce text attached to missing marital funds. Nobody laughed. Nobody jumped in. Lauren looked around the table, trying to find the current she had been swimming in for weeks. It wasn't carrying her as easily in person. She said, softer now, "I was lonely, Wesley. You don't get to act like you were perfect." "I'm not." "You shut down. You made me beg for connection." "I did shut down sometimes," I said. "That doesn't explain moving money while telling me you wanted to try." Sabrina whispered, "Lauren." Lauren snapped, "Don't." That one word told everyone there was more. I stood up. "I'm not going to argue this across a dinner table." Derek said, "Then why come?" "Because I wanted to hear what story I was being judged from." I left before dessert. By the time I got home, the group chat had already started. "Derek, that got out of hand." "Lauren, he came to intimidate me." Sabrina, "No, he didn't." "Lauren, you are unbelievable." "Derek, I still think freezing funds is extreme." Another friend wrote, "Can someone explain what actually happened?" Lauren replied, "He is trying to bury me in legal threats because I left." I opened the file Maya had approved. My hands were steady, but I sat for a full minute before sending it. Not because I doubted the evidence. Because once I corrected the lie, I could never go back to being the private person who kept painful things private for everyone else's comfort. Then I typed, "I'm not asking anyone to pick sides. I'm asking you to stop judging me from a story missing the bank records." Here is the part she left out. I attached the file. For about 30 seconds, the chat showed typing bubbles from 3 different people. Then nothing. No jokes. No hearts. No righteous speeches. Just silence. Sabrina wrote first. "I need to say publicly that I was wrong. Lauren told me Wesley controlled the finances." I repeated that without verifying it. The dates in this file match what she sent me. "I'm sorry, Wesley." Lauren responded, "I cannot believe you shared private messages." I typed, "You made private money disappear." I shared enough to correct the lie. Derek wrote, "I didn't know about the transfers." I replied, "That was the problem. You didn't know, but you still judged." Lauren wrote, "You are humiliating me." I stared at that line for a long time. Then I typed, "No, I'm answering with the paperwork you created." After that, the group split in the quiet way adult friendships split. Nobody made an announcement. Some people stopped commenting on Lauren's posts. A few reached out privately with awkward apologies. Others disappeared, which was fine. Silence can be an apology when pride won't let people write the words. Derek texted me 2 days later. I should have asked before I assumed. I replied, "Yes." He sent, "I'm sorry. I didn't make him grovel. I didn't need that. I appreciate it," I wrote. Sabrina sent a longer apology. She said Lauren had told her for months that I controlled everything, that I treated money like a leash, that I would make leaving impossible if she gave me warning. Sabrina admitted the story made sense to her because Lauren had delivered it slowly, piece by piece, over time. That bothered me more than I expected. Lauren hadn't just lied in one burst. She had planted the story like a garden and watered it with little public jokes, careful complaints, and private half-truths. Maya said that mattered. Not because a judge is going to care about dinner gossip, she told me, but because it explains why she moved money before disclosing divorce. The records matter. Her explanations changing over time also matter. The legal process was not fast. Anyone who tells you divorce becomes a clean victory because you have screenshots has not been through one. There were forms, financial disclosures, attorney emails that made every sentence sound like it had been washed in cold water, requests for statements, responses, more requests, temporary orders, accounting. Lauren's side argued that she had acted out of fear of being cut off. Maya answered with account access logs, payment history, screenshots, and the fact that Lauren had her own credit line and had been using joint funds to pay it. Maya's favorite sentence was, "She can leave the marriage. She cannot make the marital balance disappear on the way out." The emergency fund did not magically return in one dramatic transfer. Some of the money remained frozen. Some had to be accounted for through disclosures. Some had been spent during the weekend after she left, and that became its own argument. At one meeting, Lauren appeared on video with her attorney and looked smaller than I remembered. Not physically, just less certain. Her confidence had depended on the belief that everyone else would accept her version before I could organize mine. Her attorney said, Lauren believed she was protecting herself. Maya said, by moving joint funds and smaller transfers over several weeks, while representing to Wesley that she wanted reconciliation. Lauren looked down. I didn't say anything. Maya had warned me that the less I performed in legal settings, the better. Lauren finally spoke. I was scared. Maya replied, the records show planning. Fear and planning are not mutually exclusive, but planning leaves dates. That line made Lauren's mouth tighten. Adrian did not last long. I know that because Lauren made sure I knew it without meaning to. Her emails shifted from arrogant to panicked to resentful. At first, Adrian was proof she had chosen happiness. Then his name vanished. Then he became someone who supported me during a hard time. Then, eventually, he was not relevant to the financial issues. Sabrina later told me Adrian had backed away almost immediately once he realized the money was disputed marital property. He had apparently believed Lauren had separate savings and a clean plan. He liked being the man who rescued her from a stale marriage. He did not like being mentioned in attorney correspondence. At some point, he texted Lauren, I can't be pulled into anything financial. That was the whole man, right there. Lauren had mistaken attention for loyalty. Adrian had mistaken drama for romance. They both ran into paperwork and discovered paperwork is not romantic. A month after the freeze, Lauren tried to get me alone. The email came through Maya first, because by then all direct communication had been shut down. Lauren requests one private conversation with Wesley after 14 years of marriage. She believes his refusal to speak directly is unnecessarily cruel and prevents emotional closure. Maya forwarded it with, your decision. My recommendation is no private meeting. I already knew my answer. Lauren left a voicemail anyway, even though she was not supposed to. You're treating me like an enemy, she said. Her voice was quieter than before. I know I hurt you. I know the money got complicated. But you owe me one conversation. 14 years should mean I can look you in the eye. The phrase, the money got complicated, almost made me laugh. The money did not get complicated. She complicated it. I thought about calling her. Not because I wanted her back. That part of me was gone. But because there is something powerful about the voice of a person you loved for 14 years asking you to prove you are not cruel. Then I remembered the kitchen table. Her tears. Her hand limp under mine. The transfer timestamp. I remembered her message to Sabrina. He always folds if I wait him out. I sent Maya my response. Private conversations are no longer appropriate. Any necessary communication can remain documented. Maya replied, good. That one word felt better than any speech. Paige helped me start sorting the house a few weeks later. Lauren had said I could keep it like it was an insult. Keep the house. You'll need something to cling to. She knew stability mattered to me. She knew I was sentimental about the place because we had put years into it. She tried to make that sound pathetic. At first, the house did feel like a museum of a marriage that had turned on me. Her jacket still hung in the hall closet. A book she had never finished sat on the nightstand. Her favorite mug, the one I had rinsed the morning of the text, stayed in the cabinet because I couldn't decide whether throwing it away would feel powerful or stupid. Paige opened the cabinet. saw me looking at it, and said, "You know, you don't have to make every object symbolic. Isn't that what people do after divorce? People also buy motorcycles and date personal trainers. You can just box a mug." So I boxed it. Not dramatically, not with music swelling. I wrapped it in newspaper and put it in a container labeled Lauren Items. Paige wrote the label because my handwriting was apparently serial killer neat when I was stressed. The divorce dragged through seasons. There were moments when I thought I had moved past the anger, and then some small thing would bring it back. A bank email, a form asking for marital status, a grocery store aisle where I saw the creamer she liked, a friend hesitating before inviting me somewhere because Lauren might be there. But the difference was that I no longer felt trapped inside her version of me. The financial accounting came back months later. The transfers were treated as part of the marital estate. The money she had moved didn't become hers just because she moved it first. Some funds were ordered back into the marital pool. Some were offset in the settlement. The spending she couldn't justify was not ignored, but it also didn't turn into the fantasy punishment people imagine from revenge stories. I did not get everything. Divorce costs money. Attorneys cost money. Splitting a life costs money, even when one person created the mess. I lost more than I wanted. I signed documents that made me feel like I was paying a fee to escape a fire someone else set. But the bill was honest. Lauren had to account for what she moved. She had to stop calling the emergency fund her safety money when the records showed years of shared deposits. She had to stop telling people I abandoned bills because the mortgage and utilities were current every month. She had to stop using financial control as a fog machine because the statements cut through it. The settlement left me keeping the house under agreed terms, with refinancing steps and offsets that made my stomach hurt, but my future clearer. Lauren kept some assets. I kept some. Neither of us walked away untouched. The day the main agreement was signed, Maya called me. "It's done," she said. I was sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee, the same table where Lauren had cried and said we should try one more time. I expected to feel victorious. I didn't. Mostly, I felt tired. But it was a clean kind of tired, like finishing a long drive in bad weather and finally turning the engine off. "Thank you," I said. Maya paused. "You did well." "I don't feel like it." That's common. Legal protection doesn't feel like emotional repair. No, but it matters. She was right. Lauren tried one more time after that. Not to reconcile. I don't think even she believed that was possible. She wanted a private conversation because the documented version of events had not allowed her to be the version of herself she preferred. Her message came through counsel, but it sounded like her. Lauren would like Wesley to consider one final conversation for closure. She acknowledges mistakes were made, but feels the situation escalated because both parties acted from hurt. Mistakes were made. That phrase did a lot of work. I asked Maya to send a simple response. The affair was one choice. The transfers were another. The public story was a third. Wesley does not agree to private communication. Maya sent it. Lauren replied through her attorney that I was unnecessarily rigid. Maybe I was. Maybe after 14 years, a warmer man would have given her one final conversation and let her cry and say she never meant for it to happen this way. But I knew Lauren. A private conversation would not have been closure. It would have been a last attempt to turn the record back into feelings, to make the clean timeline blurry enough that she could step around it. I was done giving her unrecorded rooms where reality became negotiable. A year after the text, I made coffee one morning and reached automatically for the second mug. The habit was almost gone by then, but not completely. My hand paused at the cabinet. Her mug wasn't there anymore. The cabinet looked oddly spacious with only mine on the shelf. I poured one cup. The kitchen was quiet, but not empty in the way it had been right after she left. It was just quiet. There's a difference. I didn't check Lauren's social media. I didn't ask Sabrina for updates. I didn't track Adrian. I didn't need to know whether he had found another woman to rescue or whether Lauren had found another audience for her softer version of the story. Some friends stayed. Some didn't. Derek eventually became someone I could be polite to but not close with. Sabrina and I were never friends the same way again, but I respected that she corrected herself when it mattered. Owen still checked on me, though less like I was a crisis and more like I was a person rebuilding his weekends. Paige still came over and rearranged things without asking, then claimed she was improving traffic flow, as if my living room had rush hour. The house stayed mine. Not because Lauren tossed it to me like a consolation prize, but because I fought to keep it the right way. With records. With signatures. With payments made on time. With every accusation answered by something more solid than outrage. I'm not proud that my marriage ended. I'm not glad I spent months learning how betrayal looks when translated into bank statements and attorney emails. But I am proud that I didn't become the angry man Lauren needed me to be. I didn't chase her. I didn't beg her. I didn't threaten Adrian. I didn't empty accounts because she hurt me. I didn't post a rant for strangers to clap at. I documented what happened, protected what was still legally ours, and corrected the lie when her version started costing me my name. Lauren told me I could keep the house. So I did. I also kept the evidence. And when she tried to take our life savings as a parting gift, I didn't stop her from leaving. I just stopped her from pretending the money disappeared by itself. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.